Welcome to Sawdust session number 8. It's November 24th, 2007. I'm sorry we're a little late. We have had two problems. First of all, we added some new code this morning, which didn't work as we expected until we got all our abracadabras in the right order, and now it's working just fine, and hopefully should help those of you out there with Macs. The other problem is that this is a big shopping day, and apparently there are also a lot of people out there shopping on the internet. And so you're going to, unfortunately, see a lot of delays this time around. However, I hope you'll stay with us, and if you don't, I wouldn't blame you a second if you wanted to come back and view this on Monday. But I would like you to stay here at least to ask me some questions. Our Sawdust sessions are divided into 4 segments, as you know. Today we're going to look at some special techniques on the Overarm router. I'm going to show you how to route round stock. We're going to do a couple of Christmas present-y type things. We're going to do some decorative box corners and make some pens. And finally, a request that you guys have sent in, I'm going to show you some tips for making those magnetic scales as accurate as possible, how to set them up, how to keep them accurate. So with that, when you take this knowledge out in the shop, remember, wear eye protection, ear protection, collect dust whenever you can. Keep all your machine guards on. Use a push stick. Always have one within hand reach. And train your shop dog not to stand behind you. Okay. Remember, this is not television. We have no slick editing, and there are only 2 of us running the cameras here. So Mary Jane and Drew are on the cameras, and I'm just standing in front of you, bumbling along. So here we go. Let's start with the Overarm router. I've got a table right here. This is a tip and turn table. I'm going to pick it up and put it on the workbench so you can see a little bit better. These old tables were made to spin not because they were used as lazy Susans, but because what would happen is the storage space and space for furniture was very limited in old houses, and when the table was not used, the top was flipped up like this. It was stood against the wall, probably with 2 of the 3 legs against the wall, and this tilted up like that. If it was stood in a corner, 1 leg would have been put in the corner, and this would have been turned like so. It was also used sometimes as reflectors to reflect the warmth from a fireplace to the person who was sitting in a chair. Quite a bit of uses, and they got to be highly decorative. The cage here, as you can see, has 4 decorative turnings on it. Of course, the top is a beautiful piece of blistered maple, all scooped out. But the real decoration is right here on the pedestal. Now, I've got 2 routing techniques that I had to use in order to make this pedestal. The feet, the legs, are joined to the base with French dovetails. They slide right in. A French dovetail is a sliding dovetail. And the center section of the column is fluted. These flutes were actually routed. The column itself is made in 3 pieces, the bottom, the middle, and the top. Each one is turned separately, and then they're put together with round mortise and tenons. I'm going to show you how to make the flutes, and in order to do that, let me put this down where I won't knock it off. Put the top back on the table. in order to do that, you have to be able to route and to be able to turn the round piece that you're routing a precise distance each time. In other words, if you need to make a particular number of flutes or vanes in a piece that you've turned, let's say you need to make 10, you need to turn this 1/10 of a circle, or 36 degrees, each time you route the vane or the flute. So I've built this jig right here. Actually, Drew built the jig. I just sort of shouted encouragement. The jig holds a round piece in this Nova chuck here, and of course it's held on the other side with the Shopsmith lathe tailstock. The live center, the live center tailstock actually comes apart. You can unbolt the mount from the back. It's a standard Morse taper, and it'll just screw off. And I have bolted the head of the live taper into this piece with a number 1/2 by 20, a fine thread 1/2-inch bolt. Here on this side, I've also used a bolt, but this time I had to cut the head off. This bolt here, let me get this off all the way, was a 3.5-inch hex bolt, hardened. Drew ground it down, cut the head off, and if you put the Nova chuck on, it'll go on just like it goes on the Shopsmith spindle. It just mounts right there on that flat. You can tighten that down, and then you tighten this bolt over here, and that will keep it from turning while you're routing. Now, there's one other piece that you need to know about, and that's this right here. This is an indexing wheel. There are radians on this wheel. Actually, they go out like the degree marks on a compass. If you look at the plans that I've posted there on the blackboard, you'll see that I've actually made 4 wheels, each with a different number of radians on them. These can be used for most purposes, but there is a chance that sooner or later you'll have to make your own wheel. At the very least, you're going to have to make a decision on which wheel to use and how many radians that you need to index it. And I'm going to show you that right now. It takes a little math. First of all, let's come in close over here on the bit that we're going to use to cut the flutes. There we go. As you can see, this bit cuts a 1/2-inch round shape. Okay, the shape itself is a 1/4 inch wide from one end of this semicircle to the other. Then there are 2 flats on the end on either side. These flats are 1/16 of an inch. So the entire shape is 3/8 of an inch from one side to the other. Now, if we go back to the drawing board here, I'm driving Mary Jane and Drew crazy here. Okay, drawing board. Here I am. Okay. All right. This is the shape that we're cutting. That's a single flute. This flat here is 1/16 of an inch wide. The round part, the semicircle or the flute itself, is 1/4 of an inch wide, and this flat over here is another 1/16. So the whole thing together is 3/8. of an inch wide. That's the maximum width of the shape that we're going to cut. The minimum width is 1 flat and 1 flute, or 5/16 of an inch. These numbers are important. I'll show you why. If you take the round shape that we're going to lay these flutes on, and you cut a flat, a flute, and a flat, then you begin again. Cut another flat, a flute, and a flat, a flute, and a flat, on and on, along around. You can only get so many flutes and flats in there, okay? If your diameter isn't easily divisible by 3/8 of an inch, you may have to start squeezing these flutes in so that the flats get less between them. Okay, the closest that you can get a flute to one another is the width of one flat. So you can put a flute with just 1/16 of an inch in between it. All right, that's the least amount. So here's how you figure how many radians or how many flutes you need to make. Okay, first of all, you take the diameter of your lathe turning and you multiply that by pi. That gives you your circumference. Okay, then you divide this number by the width of the flat plus the width of the shape or the flute. Okay, this gives you the maximum number of flutes that will fit around a turning. All right, if you take the circumference of your turning and you divide it by 2 times the width of the flats, okay, plus the width of the shape, okay, this will give you the minimum number of flutes that you can make. You have to figure both of these, and then you have to choose an integer somewhere in between the two. Okay, let's do the math on the first one. First, let's see. Here it is. I'm going to take the circumference of this turning, which is 1 3/4 inches, 1.75 times 3.1416. Okay, that's 5.497, and I'm going to enter that into memory. Divide that by the width of a flat plus the width of the shape, which is 5/16 of an inch, 0.3125, is equal to, okay, so my max is 17.592. That's the maximum number of flutes. Of course, I really wouldn't make a .592 flute. It would look terrible. Okay, then the minimum number is, bring up the circumference, divided by 3/8 this time, 0.375, is equal to, so the minimum is equal to 14.661, approx. Okay, so somewhere, yes, Katie, I'm sure the math checks out. Somewhere between these two numbers is the number of flutes that I could make around here. The integers between here are 17, 16, and 15. Okay, those are the integers. I'm not going to even begin to mess with 17. That's just that's too difficult to draw up, and I haven't got it in these discs. I do have a disc here with 32 radians on it, so I could do 16. Okay, or Okay. Am I back up? Can you hear me? Okay. My friends, either you are closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the presence of the caliber of disaster indicated by a pool table in your community. I come through? Okay. All right. Back to the routing here. Like I said, I'm not going to cut flutes all along the length. I'm just going to do it from one part near this end to another part over here. Then I will cut off the two ends and keep the middle. We're about ready here to cut the first flute. I'm going to let's get the wrench out of the way. We don't need that. What we do need is some eye protection. About these. What?
Apparently the stop wasn't explained because it's playing and I don't hear what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go. Let's go from the stop then. We'll just go from the stop. Okay, folks. I'm going to back up here and take it from the stop from something Drew says that you didn't catch a very important part that I want to show you. Here on the end of the table, I have clamped a number of boards to make a sort of an L bracket out here. This is a stop. It allows me to put the jig up against it and swing it in. It pivots right there on that L bracket. When it swings in, it contacts the router bit. And it contacts the router bit about a half an inch. Here we go. A half an inch. See that? The router bit is right here. There's my finger. It contacts it about a half an inch. Yeah, I know. Everything gets blocked, doesn't it? Okay. It contacts it a half an inch behind the chuck. And that's important, guys, because you don't want that chuck to come in contact with the router bit. When I'm feeding this forward, I can pretty much tell when I'm getting to the end here, so I won't hit the live center with the router bit. But I don't. It's just good practice not to get too close to that chuck. That chuck is really hard steel, and it's a big thing. I could easily misjudge that distance. I'm not going to route the entire length of this piece. The flutes are only cut from about 1.5 inches from one end to about an inch from the other. Then I decide what 11 inches in there I'm going to keep, cut it to length, and use it in the column. So, with that, let's go on and cut our first flute. All right. Get some hearing protectors. Got some eye protectors. Notice, guys, that where I've cut that flute is right along the axis of rotation. I've got that router bit so that the two edges of the flute straddle the axis, giving makes it look nice and even there. Okay. I've turned that exactly, let's see, exactly 2 radians to my number 2 position. I'm not going to do the entire thing. You get the idea. I'll stop after this one. Let's go back to the workbench. You can see, I mean, those are dead even. That may not be as accurate as a machine index, but it is pretty accurate. They're very smooth, nice looking flutes. Little bit of scraping and sanding, and that's all it would take to clean those up. And as you can see, by using 15 stations around there, where the flats are overlapping, that's looking pretty good. There's a little bit of feathering, but not much. It, like I said, it would not take anything at all to clean this up. Now, the French dovetails for the base that hold the legs to the post are also routed on this jig. Now, we've got a lot of subject matter to cover today, so I'm not going to set up and do that. But I do want to give you some tips and tricks, because French dovetails can be really useful, and in making this type of furniture, they're used very often. Of course, you probably have figured out already that in order to set the 3 feet in the post, you would have to have 3 radians, each 120 degrees apart, and you would route a dovetail, turn it 120 degrees, route another dovetail, turn it 120 degrees, and route another dovetail. If only it were so simple. It's a little bit different. Let me erase the math. Okay, here's the bottom of our pedestal. We have a leg coming in. There is a dovetail slot cut here. Okay, and the leg has a dovetail tenon. It slides in the slot. Okay, it's not done exactly like that, however. There's a little bit more to it. Let's turn this 120 degrees and come at this side. This dovetail tenon actually has square shoulders. So what you have to do first of all is you have to take a router bit that is the same width as the leg is thick, in this case 3/4 of an inch, and you take that router bit and you cut off a little bit of the base and you make a flat right there. Then you go in, let's say that the depth of this dovetail slot and tenon is 1/2 inch. Okay? Let's take a 1/4 inch router bit and go in 1/2 inch and make a groove. 1/4 inch wide by 1/2 inch deep. Those of you who have done a lot of routing know that the best way to get really accurate results from your router is to remove a little bit of stock at one time. Routing this whole dovetail might set up some vibration because you've been hogging the wood and you might not get it to fit as well. So what you do is first you route this groove and then you come in with your dovetail bit and cut it back the edges and make your dovetail slot, and that's how you make the slot for French dovetails. Okay, if you guys want to send me some questions, any questions about that? I'm going to begin moving the Overarm router off. We got one more section with the Overarm router. I'm going to show you kind of an interesting configuration that Drew and I came up with. But I hope you've realized over the last 5, where we've shown you how to put this together in so many different configurations, that it really is a good deal more versatile than a router table or any other routing tool, precisely because it can be configured to do what you want. Even route round stock, as you can see.